Dandavat Pranam, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we have in our midst His Holiness Atmanivedana Swami Maharaj from Bhaktivedanta Manor, UK. That's where he's stationed currently. And we have now today the second session on the Nectar of Instructions out of the 5 sessions that we are going to have in this particular course given to us by His Holiness Atmanivedana Swami Maharaj. So again, on behalf of the School of Vedic Studies, we welcome you all, and also with a very thankful, grateful heart, we welcome Maharaj again. And as I always say, without much ado, let's hand over the mic to His Holiness Atmanivedana Swami Maharaj. His Holiness Atmanivedana Swami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Over to you, Maharaj.
Om Jnana Trivindasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuzunmritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurue Namaha Panchakalpatrubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So we are now entering part 2 of our Nectar Instructions. This will cover the text 3 and 4. So the overview is 1 to 7. Texts are discussing especially Vaidya, Sadhana, Bhakti. And of course, we'll follow up that with Raganuga and Bhakti. And it takes 9 to 11, Bhava and Prema. So basically, it's a whole journey from Shraddha to Prema. So since we discussed in the last session, text 1 and 2, we'll now continue on to text 3. Text 3 of this Nectar Instruction is very simple. 6 principles favorable for the execution of devotional service. Saha, Nischayat, Dharyat, Tat, Karma, Pravartat, Sangat, Tyagat, Sato, Vritti, Sadbhir, Bhakti, Prasidhyate. So basically this verse, Prabhupada is translated as, there are 6 principles favorable for execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulative principles, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure a complete success of pure devotional service. But devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Its substance is practical activity. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasandra Sindhu 1.1.11 has defined devotional service as follows. Anya vilasitam sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulena krishnanu silanam bhaktir uttama. Uttama Bhakti, or unalloyed devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, involves the rendering of devotional service in a way that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from any external motives and devoid of fruitive karma, impersonal jnana, or all other selfish desires. So it's a very clear statement by Rupa Goswami saying that when we perform devotional service, in what mood we should follow up those principles of devotion. And in this, very clearly he's saying the devotional service should be free from any external motives and devoid of fruitive karma, impersonal jnana, or any other selfish desires. So bhakti is a sort of cultivation. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to activity. Cultivation of spirituality does not mean sitting down idly for meditation, as some pseudo-yogis teach. Such idle meditation may be good for those who have no information of devotional service. For this reason, it is sometimes recommended as a way of checking, way to check distracting materialistic activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to all nonsensical mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. So we have seen this is a general trend now in modern day of lifestyle, that we are also busy, engaged in so many activities, which are of course basically materialistic activities, brings a lot of anxiety and tension. And then to relieve that, we go to form of yoga practice, sitting down and meditating and trying to become peaceful. But as we discussed in the last session, that there is no such thing as bringing a vacuum in your mind. Either it is filled with materialistic thoughts or it is replaced with spiritual thoughts. There is no real benefit of sitting peacefully and just trying to become a voidist, that free from all thoughts. You will never become, because as we understand, the soul is always active, and therefore either it will be materially active or spiritually active. So Sri Prahlada Maharaja recommends Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Arsanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. These ninefold bhakti processes, which are recommended by Prahlada Maharaj, and of course emphasized by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then along the road, all the Parampara Acharyas have established this fact, and in the later stage, Srila Prabhupada has emphasized purely on the first three bases of this nine-form bhakti: Shravanam, Kirtanam, and Vishnu Smaranam. The nine processes of devotional service are as follows. 1, hearing the names and glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 2, chanting his glories. 3, remembering the Lord. 4, serving the Lord's faith. 5, worshipping the deity. 6, offering obeisances unto the Lord. 7, acting as the Lord's servant. 8, making friends with the Lord. 9, surrendering oneself fully unto the Lord. Now, we have heard this over and over and over, but we are thinking why we have to keep repeating this. That is because in this day and age, we have to be reminded of this. Because every time we hear about it, we say, oh yes, very nice. And then there's the old saying, out of sight, out of mind. And when it's out of mind, then it's not there in you to think about it. So therefore, we have to keep these things fixed in our minds, that this is the process of bhakti recommended by a pure devotee, Sri Prahlada Maharaj, and successively all the great acharyas in that paramparic line. So these are some of the basic principles to remind ourselves that how we can perfect all these different forms of devotional service. And as I said, Prabhupada has emphasized specifically the first three, Shravanam, which is how to be perfect in our hearing, just like Parikshit Maharaj, he perfected his hearing from Sukadeva Goswami. And Kirtanam, always chanting the holy name of the Lord. And then Smaranam, always remembering the Lord. These three are very easy for us to execute because they are within our capacity. Impetus for bhakti. Now we say, what is bhakti? Bhakti means it is practical position of action in the foreground of spiritual life. This, as we cited the verse from Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami. And what is not bhakti? Sentimental speculation, imaginative ecstasy, idle meditation. Now, how to perform bhakti under a guru? This is established by Krishna himself. Tadvidi pranipratena pariprashna sevaya. You approach a bona fide spiritual master and seek guidance from him. And of course, one of the most important aspect, which is cited by Prabhupada in the purport of this Nectar of Instruction, is Prahlada Maharaja, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, and so forth. So impetus for bhakti, why perform bhakti? It is very rare, and when you get to perform bhakti, then it becomes very blissful and liberating from all material conditions. Whom is bhakti for? Now, this is a very important question. Whom this bhakti is available to? So, of course, Prabhupada is saying any sincere practitioner. So there is no bar. Only thing required is that your sincerity should be there. If you have sincerity, then naturally you are a candidate for performing bhakti. Now, the question is where to perform bhakti. So, for me, I said ISKCON is the place. Why ISKCON? Because in 1966, when Srila Prabhupada established this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON is a short version of that society's name. Prabhupada said that this International Society for Krishna Consciousness is specifically established for facilitating bhakti, devotional service. So therefore, I am fully convinced and I will propagate that ISKCON is a place where you can do bhakti. So one should not give oral reception to unauthorized persons, but should approach a proper person as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. As I said, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself is saying, Tadidi prani pratena pariprashna sevaya. Padekshayanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshana. Jnaninas tattva darshana, very clearly Krishna is stating that why we have to approach him, because he is jnaninas, he is self-realized. Because he is self-realized, he can impart that realization onto you. So in this slide, we see that devotees are surrounding Prabhupada and they're inquiring from Prabhupada. And when the inquiry is made subjectively from a spiritual master, then of course, out of his kindness, his mercy, he reveals these things to us. It is further recommended in the Mundaka Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad. Tad vijnanartham sa guru eva bhigachati. To understand that considering the science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. Thus, this method of submissively receiving transcendental confidential knowledge is not merely based on mental speculation. So, of course, this is not some speculative approach, but this is authorized in the scriptures by the Supreme Lord himself, and then emphasized by the acharyas. So in this regard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Rupa Goswami, Brahmante Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. In the course of traversing the universal creation of Brahma, some fortunate souls may receive the seed of Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotional service. That is all by the grace of Sri Guru and Krishna. This is in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 9, text 151. So this is also very quite oftenly quoted by Srila Prabhupada. Brahmante Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. So in this Brahman, this whole universe, there are millions and trillions of living entities in all different kinds of bodies. And finally, they come to a higher body of higher consciousness, which is a human being. And in that human being, who is that rare soul who is receiving this benediction? So I thought this is an appropriate slide to depict that appropriate soul. That soul was Srila Prabhupada, who approached his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Prabhupada. And he was a recipient of this causeless mercy of the Lord and established the creeper of devotion in his heart. And then Prabhupada nurtured this devotional creeper, and then he in turn gave it to his disciples. So this is the paramparic line where the spiritual master is empowered to give that seed of devotion to a sincere seeker of bhakti. So the material world is a place of confinement for living entities who are by nature anandamaya. So of course we have heard this statement many times, Satchit Ananda, that we are eternal, we are full of knowledge, and we are full of bliss and happiness. So here Prabhupada is mentioning that the material world is a place of confinement for living entities who are by nature anandamaya, pleasure seeking. They actually want to be free from the confinement of this world of conditional happiness, but not knowing the process of liberation, they are bound to transmigrate from one species of life to another and from one planet to another. In this way, the living entities are wandering throughout the material universe. When by good fortune one comes in contact with the pure devotee, he hears from him patiently, and one begins to follow the path of devotional service. So, of course, as Prabhupada is mentioning, that by nature we are Anandamaya, pleasure seeking, but unfortunately we do not know how to get that pleasure, which is transcendental. So we are attracted to somewhat the lower modes of happiness, which is based on material sense gratification. So these are beautiful slides of Srila Prabhupada in full flow of Anandamaya. So when you are under the shelter of a pure devotee and under his instructions, you follow the process of bhakti, then surely you will also get Anandamaya. Otherwise, as mentioned, that transmigration from one species of life to another will continue, and this loop will never be ending until, of course, we are fortunate enough to receive Bhakti Lata Bij, and then we stop this loop. So from one planet to another planet also, we are wandering in this universe. So this opportunity is given to us, which is such a rare thing, to achieve this devotional kripa by the mercy of Shri Guru and Gauranga. Such an opportunity is offered to a person who is sincere. The International Society of Krishna Consciousness is giving such a chance to humanity at large. If by fortunate one takes advantage of this opportunity to engage in devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens. So as I mentioned earlier on, that Prabhupada has established this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, as Prabhupada himself saying in his words, for giving a chance to humanity at large to take advantage of this. And who is this? Who is this person? Prabhupada says, person who is sincere. So in the verse of the Nectar of Instruction, it's saying utsaha, enthusiasm, is very much important ingredient. Whether it is success in any field depends on enthusiasm. Whether it is material field, which is the top part on the right-hand slide shows people who are very successful in their material endeavors and celebrating their joy, or it could be in a spiritual endeavor where devotees are very joyfully chanting the holy names and also experiencing that happiness. Difference between the two is one is material happiness and the other is spiritual happiness. So one should accept this opportunity to return home back to Godhead very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. Even in the material world, one has to be very enthusiastic in a particular field of activity in order to become successful. A student, a businessman, an artist, or anyone else who wants success in his line must be enthusiastic. Similarly, one has to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. Enthusiasm means action, but action for whom? The answer is that one should always act for Krishna. For example, at present, we are using a dictaphone. The materialist who invented this machine intended it for businessmen or writers of mundane subject matters. He certainly never thought of using the dictaphone in God's service, but we are using this dictaphone to write Krishna conscious literature. Of course, Prabhupada was very much using this dictaphone to dictate all the translations of his transcendental translations of all the scriptures. And when he was writing this book, Nectar of Instruction, it was very much an instrument for propagating the holy name and instructions. So Prabhupada is using that citation in this purport. And here Prabhupada himself is using this dictaphone. So utsaha, enthusiasm, is how to use that enthusiasm? Yukta vairagya. As Prabhupada is saying in this little statement of his, that dictaphone, of course, was for material purpose, for material gains. But here we are using it for transcendental purpose. So Yukta vairagya principle by Rupa Goswami is anything that is favorable to promote Krishna consciousness, that should be used in the service of the Lord. Endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha. It's a very important aspect. The endeavor which we execute must be with intelligence in Krishna consciousness. That is called utsaha or enthusiasm. The devotee finds the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. nirbandha Krishna sambandha yukta vairagya uchyate. The execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation by practical action, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. So, of course, again, Rupa Goswami is emphasizing nirbandhe Krishna sambandhe, that anything which is against the principle of Krishna, we reject, nirbandhe, and which is favorable for Krishna, sambandhe, we accept. This is considered by Rupa Goswami as yukta vairagya principle. Nishchayate, confidence. So, of course, this is another principle. Utsaha is one. And to perform utsaha, we must have confidence. Now, confidence is mentioned in this slide here. It says confidence in other parts or other activities, which are bhukti, mukti, or siddha. These are different kinds of activities which are based on material sense enjoyment. And they basically are impure. There is no such as thing as proper shelter, and leads one to a downfall. And that means that we become more and more entangled in the material world. Just like the siddhis are considered kind of some kind of powers we can achieve, some strength of some yogic powers, but they don't lead you to spiritual upliftment, but on the contrary, it becomes an impediment in your spiritual path. Now, confidence in bhakti is one, life and soul, that the soul becomes alive by the very performance of bhakti, because the very nature of the soul, as we mentioned earlier on, Satchit Ananda Vigraha, that it is full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. That is the nature of the soul. So when the soul connects with bhakti, then it begins to really start living. Otherwise, is, in my words, is a living dead person. The desired goals can be achieved through this process of bhakti. And of course, perfection of human life can be achieved from following the principles of bhakti. The next in the verse is mentioned DHAIRYAT. DHAIRYAT means patience. So patience is very much important aspect of devotional life, because without patience, you cannot hurry anything. As Krishna says, just do your duty. Karmani evadhikarastu ma phaleshu kadachan. Krishna says, just do your duty and leave rest the results to me. I will supply the results when they are ready to be supplied. So in this slide, I'm showing you a small plant of people tree. Now, those who have seen this people tree, the seed is very, very tiny, very smaller than a mustard seed. So when you plant that, it begins to grow into a small plant. But for that plant to become mature, it takes time. So patience should be there. When there is patience, then you can see a mature tree in his maturity, it grows wonderful and it expands more and more and more. But it doesn't come overnight. It needs patience. So patience is the virtue here. So in practicing devotional life, we should not hurry it, but we should have patience. The activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly. In the beginning, there was no response, but because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. So, of course, we understand from Prabhupada's struggle, single-handedly he tried. In the beginning, it was very, very difficult, but he pursued with patience and faith in Krishna. And of course, rest is history which speaks for itself. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activity requires both patience and confidence. So there are two underlying effects here. One is that one should take the instructions about bhakti or devotional service from the spiritual master and then execute that with patience, specifically depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. A newly married girl naturally expects offsprings from her husband, but she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. So this is example Prabhupada is giving about patience, that a newly married couple straight after marriage cannot expect to have a child, but it takes little time, perseverance, and attempts, and then of course in due time the child will be born. So marriage is there. After marriage is there, in due time, the lady in question or the wife in question will become impregnated by the husband. And then, of course, no doubt, the child will be born after 9 months. But it takes time and patience. It cannot be done in an instant. So Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that any activity, very enthusiastically, we should perform that. So very enthusiastically about executing the regulative principles. So this is underlining principle that we should be very enthusiastic to execute the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. If you follow that, as mentioned in the verse, tat karma pravartana, that following principles is the most important aspect. As already explained, one should not be idle, but should be very enthusiastic about executing regulative principles. Tat karma pravartana. Neglect of the regulative principles will destroy devotional service. In this Krishna consciousness movement, there are 4 basic regulative principles: forbidding illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. A devotee must be very enthusiastic about following these principles. If he becomes slack in following any of them, his progress will certainly be checked. So there is a warning here that if we are complacent in following these regulative principles or neglectful of them, then there is every chance that our process and our progress in devotional life will be checked. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore recommends tat karma pravartante. One must strictly follow the regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. In addition to these 4 prohibitive yama, there are positive regulative principles niyama, such as the daily chanting of 16 rounds on japa mala beads. These regulative activities must be faithfully performed with enthusiasm. That is called tat karma parvartanana, or varied engagements in devotional service. Furthermore, in order to be successful in devotional service, one must give up the association of undesirable people. This includes karmis, jnanis, yogis, and other non-devotees. Once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked by one of his household devotee about the general principle of Vaishnavism, as well as the general routine activities of a Vaishnava. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately replied, Satsanga Tyaga Ai Vaishnavachara. Characteristically, a Vaishnava is one who gives up the association of worldly people or non-devotees. So when we are giving up all the association of non-devotees, then we are considered Vaishnavas. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has therefore recommended Tandara Charana Seva Sevi Bhakta Sanivasa. One has to live in the company of pure devotees and execute the regulative principles laid down by the previous acharyas, the 6 Goswamis. If one lives in association of devotees, there is little chance of associating with non-devotees. So obviously this is common sense, that if you associate with devotees, then definitely there is no association of non-devotees. So this principle also is very important, which is recommended by in the Nectar of Instruction, that we try to disassociate ourselves with non-devotees and try to seek out devotee association. So when we associate with non-devotees, then basically our activities are just mundane. As this slide is depicting, people are sitting in a bar, drinking away beer and talking about politics or sports or something mundane, which has nothing to do with developing love for the Supreme Lord. So it is said, Sangha Tyagat, giving up bad association. So we have to give up all bad association. This is one of the fundamental principles of practicing bhakti. On the other hand, there is wonderful International Society of Krishna Consciousness, which is a society full of wonderful Vaishnavas. We should be eager to take their association. So accepting good devotees association is called satsanga, pure association, and this is recommended by the 6 Goswamis. devotional service means transcendental activities. On the transcendental platform, there is no contamination by the three modes of material nature. This is called Visuddha Sattva, the platform of pure goodness, or goodness free from contamination, the qualities of passion and ignorance. So, of course, even Krishna is advising Arjuna. The Arjuna rise above these three modes of material nature, come to a pure platform, transcend to pure Visuddha Sattva platform. So even goodness is kind of material, but when we transcend the goodness to pure goodness, and that is what Krishna is explaining to Arjuna, it's called Visuddha Sattva. When we come to pure goodness, then we are always full of pure thoughts in terms of devotional service and serving the Supreme Lord, of hearing and chanting and remembering Him. If one strictly follows the advice given in this verse by Srila Rupa Goswami, namely being enthusiastic, being confident, being patient, giving up the association of unwanted persons, following the regulatory principles, and remaining in the association of devotees, one is sure to advance in devotional service. So this is kind of a conclusion of the first verse, where this slide is showing the cub lion is following the father, and when he follows the father's footstep, he knows he's not going to go wrong. He'll be fully protected by the father's experience. So similarly, we are like that in the material world. We are lost like the little cub in the wilderness. And when we get the shelter of the pure devotee, the spiritual master, we know for sure that he is leading us on the right path and guide us to perfection. So one of the principles again in the first verse is Satata Vritihe, following in the footsteps of the acharyas. Utsaha, enthusiasm. So this is the conclusion now of the ABC of the first verse, rather the third verse. A is attitude. Now attitude should be in such a way that it should be full of utsaha, enthusiasm, nishchayat, confidence, DHAIRYAT, patience. B, behavior, tat karma pravarta, acting according to the regulatory principles. Character. 5, sanga tyagat, avoiding association of non-devotees. And direction, sattvavriti, following previous acharyas. So this is the sum and total of the conclusion of this verse. And now we go into text 4 of the next instruction. And in this text 4, Rupa Goswami is explaining about the 6 types of exchanges a devotee experiences, 6 loving exchanges. Dadati pratigranati guyam akyati prachyati bhukte bhujayate chaivam sadvidim priti lakshana. So these are the 6 principles favorable for execution of pure devotional service. 1, offering gifts in charity. 2, accepting charitable gifts. 3, revealing one's mind in confidence. 4, inquiring confidentially. 5, accepting prasad. And 6, offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee to another. There are 6 kinds of activities. 1, giving charity to devotees and accepting from the devotee whatever they may offer in return. So one must be very careful that it is not just the giving principle, but when we are giving, then also we should be accepting. And this is the 2 way of exchanging. Opening one's mind to the devotees and then inquiring about confidential service and confidential matters about the Lord from the devotee. Ordering prasadam, spiritual food given by the devotees, and feeding the devotees. So of course, in this slide, Prabhupada has given us the gift of love by opening that first temple, which is the seed of Krishna consciousness, and from where Krishna consciousness grew into a huge, gigantic banyan tree and spread its tentacles all over the world, spreading Krishna consciousness. So this is the gift of a pure devotee which he has given us. And then how do we reciprocate with him? Offering gifts in charity. So of course, accepting this is one of the most wonderful gifts we can receive. And then of course, in the Shastra is saying that we also give charity to Brahmanas. In this slide, I've shown that the cow has been given as a gift in charity to Brahmana. So that is also accepting charitable gifts. In this slide, the devotee is sitting in front of Prabhupada and he's revealing his mind. as mentioned by Rupa Goswami, that revealing one's mind in confidence to the spiritual master. And then when spiritual master sees and hears your troubles, then he, of course, will accordingly guide you. Then in this slide, there is a person interested in Krishna consciousness, and therefore he's making inquiries. This is another quality, inquiring confidentially from the spiritual master about the subject matter of how to become Krishna conscious. Receiving prasadam, as we see in this slide, Prabhupada is offering prasadam. This was his practice, that after class he would distribute prasadam to all the devotees who've gathered there. So that receiving prasadam from the spiritual master's hand is considered a form of mercy. And of course, when we receive the mercy, then we don't be greedy and be selfish, but then we distribute the mercy. So in the process, we also learn from the spiritual master to distribute prasadam to others, and they also are recipient of the mercy, the Supreme Lord, in the form of prasadam. An experienced devotee explains, and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. This is the process. An experienced devotee will explain how to perform Krishna conscious activities properly, and an inexperienced one will learn from him. This is Guya Akhyati Prachahati. When a devotee distributes prasadam, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this prasad as the Lord's grace received through the pure devotee. We should also invite pure devotees to our home and offer them prasadam, and be prepared to be pleased by them in all respect. This is called bhaktya vajayate chaiva. So this is a recommendation, especially for householders, that they should receive prasadam from the spiritual master and the devotees of the Lord. And since they are also devotees, they should invite devotees to their home and offer them prasadam. Even in an ordinary social activities, these 6 types of dealings between 2 loving friends are absolutely necessary. For instance, this example Prabhupada gives in the purport: when one businessman wishes to contact another businessman, he arranges a feast in a hotel, and over the feast openly expresses what he wishes to do. He then inquires from his business friend how he should act, and sometimes presents are exchanged. Thus, whenever there is a dealing of priti or love in intimate dealing, these 6 activities are executed. Because 2 businessmen meeting, there is exchange of food stuff and then discussing business matters. And this is mundane, but Prabhupada is saying that even in mundane situation, these activities exist of exchanging and revealing and associating. So in the previous verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advised that one should renounce worldly association and keep company with the devotees. Sangha Tyagat Satovriti. In the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, the International Society of Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. This society was started single-handedly, but because people are coming forward and dealing with the give and take policy, the society is now expanding all over the world. We are glad that people are donating very liberally to the development of the society's activities, and people are also eagerly accepting whatever humble contributions we are giving them in the shape of books and magazines dealing strictly with the subject matter of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada was very much proud that this whole concept which Rupa Goswami has mentioned in Nectar of Instruction, if is properly executed in our daily activities, then result speaks for itself. As Prabhupada is saying, that people are coming forward and generously donating for the cause of spreading the Krishna consciousness. At the same time, we are also in return giving them our humble contribution, books and magazines, and opportunity to engage and hear about Krishna. We sometimes hold Hare Krishna festivals and invite life members and friends to participate in the feasting, accepting prasad. Although most of our members come from a higher rungs of society, they nonetheless come and take whatever little prasad we are able to offer them. Sometimes the members and supporters inquire very confidentially about the methods of performing devotional service, and we try to explain this. So again, there's exchange. We invite members, they prasadam, and hear about Krishna consciousness, and then that inquisitiveness will lead them to performing devotional service. The life of the Krishna conscious society is nourished by the 6 types of loving exchanges among the members. Therefore, people must be given a chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON, because simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can carefully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. So this is very important point Srila Prabhupada is making, that everybody should be given opportunity to associate with the devotees of our movement or society, and therefore even an ordinary man, if he associates with devotees, then as Prabhupada says, the bottom line is that the dormant Krishna consciousness will be awakened. So association, whom? Krishna's devotee, where? In ISKCON community. Why? Results, success, peace, and tranquility. So when we associate with the devotees, these are the results which we derive from that. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 62, it is stated, Sangat Sanjayate Kama. One's desires and ambitions develop according to the company one keeps. It is often said that a man is known by his company, and if an ordinary man associates with devotees, he will certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness. The understanding of Krishna consciousness is innate in every living entity, and it is already developed to some extent when the living entity takes a human body. So this is again another point of importance Prabhupada is making, that the Krishna consciousness is already there. It is dormant in a seed form, but when he takes a human form, then it is already beginning stage of development, and more he associates with the devotees, and through the association devotees, more and more he hears and remembers Krishna, hears his glories. Then of course this dormant love of Krishna consciousness will flourish in his heart, and as we gave the example from the small people tree, it will go into a huge mature tree. It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 107, Nityasida Krishna Prema Sadha Kabunaye, Sarvanadi Sudha Chite Karya Udaye. Pure love of Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, the living entity naturally awakens. Since Krishna consciousness is inherent in every living entity, everyone should be given a chance to hear about Krishna. In all parts of the world, however downtrodden human society may be, there is a system of religion. Even tribal aborigines in the jungles also have a system of religion. When a religious system develops and turns into love of God, it is successful. As stated in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1-6, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharma, Yato Bhakti Adosaja Ahoituki, Aprahita Yayatma Suprasiddhati. This is verse also many times Prabhupada quotes and sets an example that what is real dharma, what is real religion. That is explained. The supreme occupation of dharma for all humanity is that by which man can attain the loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. So this is the real principle of dharma. Anything else is not dharma. So if your following of principle of dharma fits into this definition, then you can understand that what you are doing is completely perfect, and that will lead you to the highest development of spirituality. The Mayavadis and the other atheists do not want the Krishna consciousness movement to develop because it educates people in God consciousness. Such is the policy of atheists. There is no benefit in feeding a snake milk and bananas because the snake will never be satisfied. So this is another example Prabhupada is giving, that if you feed a snake milk and bananas, the snake will never be satisfied. On the contrary, Prabhupada explains that when you feed the snake more and more milk and bananas, it will become more and more poisonous. So this is precautions given to us. Do not associate with Mayavadis and atheists, never satisfied, and are like poison, and it increases and destroys one. So this is a word of caution given. Just the example is analogy is given of a snake. Similarly, bad association is just like a poisonous snake. It will not give you any benefit, but only destroy you. Do not associate with. Now, in the verse is recommendation saying, the dati pratigrinati. Never give or accept charity. From who? As we say, Mayavadis. Kuya khyati prichati. Never disclose his mind or ask anything confidential. Never gives invitation or accepts invitation. Bhunkate bhojayate. Never gives or accepts prasaram. So anyone who performs these activities which are contrary to the 6 exchanges which are recommended, then we should avoid their association, because it will only be disturbance to your spiritual progress, or it will entangle you further and there's a fall down from the spiritual platform. If a snake is given milk to drink, its poison simply increases. For a similar reason, we should not disclose our minds to the serpent Mayavadi and karmis. Such disclosure will never help. It is best to avoid association with them completely. Never ask them about anything confidential, because they cannot give good advice. Nor should we extend invitation to Mayavadis and atheists, nor accept their invitation. By such intimate intermingling, we may become affected by their atheistic mentality. Sangat sanjayate kama. It is a negative injunction in this verse that we should refrain from giving anything to or accepting anything from the Mayavadis and the atheists. Especially when Prabhupada says Mayavadis and atheists means non-devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also warned, Vishayare anna khaile dusta haya mana. By eating food prepared by worldly people, one's mind becomes wicked. Unless one is very advanced, he is unable to utilize everyone's contribution to further the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore, on principle, one should not accept charity from Mayavadis or atheists. The conclusion is that we should always keep company with devotees, observe the regulative devotional principles, follow in the footsteps of the acharyas, and in full obeisances, carry out the order, obedience. In full obedience, carry out the orders of the spiritual master. In this way, we shall be able to develop our devotional service and dormant Krishna consciousness. So this is the conclusion of this section, that we should keep good company with devotees, observe rules and regulations, follow them according to the principles given by the acharyas, following the footsteps of the acharyas, in full obedience, follow the orders of the spiritual master, and this way we will maintain our devotional life. So by the mercy of the spiritual master, we are a recipient of the causeless mercy. And through that causeless mercy, there is attraction for devotional service. And when we have attraction for devotional service, and the execution of devotional service will take us into a loop. And more we execute devotional service, the more and more we become attracted to devotional service. And it is a good circle to be caught up in, because this circle will be never ending in the spirit of devotion. So on that note, we will conclude. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much. So Maharaj, before we take questions, I have one question. In the to text 3 in the purport, and you highlighted that, Maharaj, wherein it's about the association of devotees. Just one sec, I'm pulling out the exact, I'm sorry, wherein you spoke about the, yeah, where it says, Asat Sangatyag a Vaishnavachar. Characteristically, a Vaishnava is one who gives up the association of worldly people or non-devotees. And then um, Srila Narottam Das Thakur's recommendation of Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sannivas, how to live in the company of pure devotees and execute devotional service. Srila Prabhupada further on says that the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is opening many centers just to invite people to live in the company of devotees and practice the regulative principles of spiritual life. So, herein my question lies. Obviously, in this aspect or this reference by Srila Prabhupada is at that point in time, if you join the temple, you're a devotee. There wasn't really any congregation. But today we are 95% or even more congregation based and less temple based. From that perspective, and the new paradigm in which ISKCON is, Maharaj, how would you then define this association with the devotees? Because being in the congregation means that we are involved in some employment or business wherein one would be forced to actually associate with worldly minded people. How does one then reconcile with this new reality that has emerged around us?
Well, basically, you see, when Prabhupada was writing his purports to Nectar of Instruction, it was done at that particular time and place. Now, as you are saying, we have moved on, and there's a kind of a paradigm shift in our movement's development. So at the same time, you see, I look at it this way. Prabhupada said we are opening many ISKCON centers and welcoming people to stay in our ashrams, to take association and perform bhakti. Now, on the other hand, now, I see that the same principle is there, but every home is an ISKCON center. Because in your own home, you may have a small shrine dedicated to Sri Sri Gaunitai, sometimes Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, or sometimes Radha Krishna. Nonetheless, or you may have just a photo picture of the Panchatattva or Radha Krishna and so forth. Nonetheless, this is still manifestation of the Lord in his different ways. So in your home, you're practicing Krishna consciousness. Therefore, your home, as Prabhupada advised, that as a devotee, we should invite the Lord into our home and offer our home to the Lord, that this is your home. And my small request is that please let me stay in this home with you and serve you. So then your home becomes kind of an ISKCON extended center. Then in your own home, you associate with your family members who are presumably all devotees. So you associate with them. And if some are not very, very fixed in devotional life, because family members, sometimes they are not so much into Krishna consciousness, then you give the benefit of your association to them to become more Krishna conscious, but not to take anything from them, or any bad activities which they are holding should be prevented. But for your good opportunity of your association must be given to them. That is family members. Now, if you're working in a workplace, then no doubt you have to have interaction with your work colleagues due to work principles. Now, when you are doing that, then you have to be very, very mindful that your association with them is simply in terms of what is required for your work associated association. So you may be sitting in the office with a colleague and you're doing your work, and there's your colleague sitting there, and your association interaction with them will be based on the work you are supposed to be doing for your company. Not that you sit down there and you're doing work. Then, by the way, did you read in the newspaper, this is what happened in politics, and this what happened in this country, that country? Or did you see the football match highlights last night? It was a wonderful match, and this, that. You don't get into these mundane talks. You refrain. That is an austerity, but nonetheless, that is part and parcel of keeping ourselves intact in purity. Because as soon as we let the guards down, then this infiltration of bad qualities will come very quickly, flooding in, and you'll be overwhelmed by them. And then you lose sight of the kripa which you have received. So when we are recipient, as Mahaprabhu is saying, Brahmate Brahmite Kono Bhagyavanti, that we are recipient of this seed in this vastness of this creation, we should guard that. Of course, we didn't have time to go into that detail because of lack of time, but in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada explains that like an expert gardener, that seed of devotion should be nurtured and cultivated so that it develops into a huge, strong tree. And when the tree is fully matured, its roots are deep, even the gale force wind comes, it will sway in it, but it will not be uprooted. So similarly, our devotion will be so deep-rooted that if sometimes we are facing some onslaught of Maya's energy, we will sway it and ride it out, but we won't be uprooted. So that is a very important aspect that we have to choose, because sometimes people say that, we are living in a different lifestyle. No problem. That is part and parcel of life, but you have to create your own spirituality around you to protect yourself from associating with non-devotees and discussing non-devotional principles. It is an austerity, but then of course Krishna says, you perform these austerities for me, and if you're performing these austerities for me, then I will reciprocate with you and give you higher experiences. When you get higher experiences through these austerities and keeping yourself intact under the fold of devotion, and what happens, you will have inner ecstasies, and you are so overwhelmed by inner ecstasies that the external stimulation from others will be of no meaning. It's just like, you have $1 million and I say, well, I want $50,000. I want to give you half of that. What is the value? You already have $1 million, and $25,000 is not going to make much of an impact on you. On the contrary, say, look, I got more than you, I can give you some. So we give something good we have to others, but we don't take anything bad from others. Unless until, as Rupa Goswami mentions in the verse, of exchanges, of loving exchange, giving and taking of charity, is done from a devotee to devotee, not from non-devotees. So Prabhupada was very much emphasizing, and he mentioned a lot about Mayavadis and atheists. So atheists, of course, means non-devotees who don't accept God. So we don't take anything from them, even though it may be something materially beneficial to us. It's okay, I don't need it. I will just depend on Krishna.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. I like the fact that you said you have to create your spirituality around you. And I think that was the defining point that you made very nicely. So thank you, Maharaj. We have another question from Anita Ramya. Anita Ramya Mataji, if you want to ask the question, you can switch on your video. We can get you on spotlight with Maharaj. Or else you've sent the question to me, I can ask. What would you like? Okay, I'll ask. Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams. What can we do, or how can we handle people who aren't devotees and they are in our homes itself? And also, when we aren't allowed to perform bhakti openly, what can we do in such situations? Thank you.
Well, I mean, first of all, if it's your home, why there should be any restriction in your own home? That is one point. Second, as I said to your question, that if you are living in a family home and not all my family members are very, very strictly following the principles of Krishna consciousness, and that is okay. We don't disown them, but we try to encourage them by our own enthusiasm. As mentioned in the verse itself, that we have to have that enthusiasm to perform bhakti. So when you have your own enthusiasm, automatically that enthusiasm will rub onto the other person. That is the very nature of bhakti. The more and more stronger you become in your bhakti, it sort of, its effulgence comes out from the core of your heart and it spreads and touches the other person's heart. And because the other person's heart is also a soul, that soul will appreciate it, and definitely there will be some change. I will give you a quick example. That is one lady disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and she was married to a non-devotee, So she was a little frustrated because, you know, she's living with her husband who is not a devotee and he's a meat eater. So she came to Prabhupada and said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, this is my situation. And I think I have come to ask you for permission that I can divorce him. And Prabhupada said, no need for divorce. You just be a chaste wife. You cook your food separately and you cook his food separately and you separate utensils. You eat your prasadam after offering to Krishna and let him eat his thing, whatever he wants to eat. And Prabhupada said, you simply be a chaste wife, that's all. And you continue with your devotional life very enthusiastically. And sure enough, 6 months later, the husband said to his wife, oh, forget about this cooking separately. We are married, you know, husband and wife. I will eat what you eat. So therefore, now there is no more meat eating. He's only eating prasadam with his wife. So there is a progression. And if Prabhupada had said, just abandon him, then that husband would have been abandoned and he would be, you know, the depth of love of Maya. And there is no salvation for him. But by the chastity of the devotee wife, he became a little bit pulled out. And slowly, because he's now associating with his wife, taking prasadam, naturally, next stage will be he will appreciate Krishna consciousness and also develop Krishna consciousness. But if he had been rejected in the first place, then there's no salvation for him. So similarly, we have to look at from the same spirit that we become perfect, as Prabhupada says, sartha kari karo para upakar, that we become perfect and make others perfect, whether they are our family members, our relatives, or non-devotees. That is our business, to give everyone Krishna consciousness.
I hope, Mataji, that reply by Maharaj satisfies you. Okay, yes, Maharaj, she thanks you for your very nice explanation. We have a hand raised by Rajamani Prabhu. Rajamani Prabhu, would you like to switch on your video?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances unto your lotus feet.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I have one question, Maharaj. I mean, how one get bhakti? I mean, that mean, you know, because normally, generally, the devotees say only the pious person. At the same time, you know, that by association of devotee, one's get bhakti. Could you explain me a little bit more elaborately?
Yeah, it's very simple. That if you are a recipient of mercy of Krishna and you are performing bhakti, even it may be at a neophyte level, it's not important. More important is that you have got bhakti. And because you have bhakti, you can give bhakti to others, at least up to the level of what your bhakti is. So if you have bhakti of 10% purity, then you can give to the other person 10%, and he will get started. And then, of course, once he's started, the 10% will increase to more. And similarly with you, as your dedication and enthusiasm and confidence and patience is there in performing the principles of bhakti, then you will also advance. So basically, the principle is that it's not that how I can give others. We are already recipient of bhakti. We give whatever we can, whatever we have. In other words, if you have $10 in your pocket, you can only give $10 to the other person. Although you may wish to give him 100, but you can't because you only have 10. But still, the $10 is something you can give because that is within your capacity. So same with bhakti. As our devotion increases, we preach to people and encourage others to come forward and develop devotional attitude and begin their journey of Krishna consciousness. So it is our business to preach. Whether we are 100% pure or not is not important. Simply, even we go and preach very simple thing to someone. You know, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You must take shelter of him. So that's preaching, and then that will kickstart his dormant Krishna consciousness, which is already there, as mentioned by Prabhupada in the purport, that the dormant Krishna consciousness is already there. It just needs a little catalyst to kickstart it, and that is from our good association. Because we are practicing bhakti, so there must be some good association in us. And when we give that good association to others, then it will increase the other person's bhakti.
Thank you, Maharaj. But on the other hand, Maharaj, the other person also should have, I mean, pious credit on them, or I mean, it will, I mean, go from ourselves.
No, you see, it's not necessarily the person has to have pious For example, Jagai and Madai, they had no piety in them. From the behavior of their lifestyle, there was nothing, anything pious about them. But by the mercy of Nityananda, they became great devotees. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, okay, you get the causeless mercy. So similarly, in the Western country, when Prabhupada went there, lots of people came forward. Many of them were, taking drugs, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, smoking ganja, eating meat, womanizing, so many things. But purity of Prabhupada expanded into their heart and kick-started their devotion. And once that devotion opens up, then Krishna takes over. And the more and more sincere you are, the more and more Krishna reciprocates with you. And that is why it's mentioned in this section of the Nectar of Instruction, good association is very important. That through good association, you lift everyone from the lower modes to higher modes.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank you, Rajumani
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So we will have now our meet and greet with Maharaj. So let's do that. We are in the, our Nectar of Instruction session ends with this question and answer session. And now let's have a meet and greet. And obviously, it'll be followed up with the questions that would be sent to everyone. And before we meet again on next Saturday at the same time. So let's begin. So we alphabetically, Anupama Radharani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Next is Vrindavan Sham Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandas Pranam. Please accept my respectful obeisances.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Rameshwar Kanai Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Please accept my respectful obeisances unto you. So wonderfully explained all this. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Achra Mataji and Vijay Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna
Maharaj.
Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Our
Hare
humble
Krishna,
obeisances to
Hare
your lotus
Krishna.
feet, please. Thank you very much for this another wonderful session, Maharaj. Thank you,
Hare
Ji.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Next is Swam Siddha Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj Ji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you
Hare
so much for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Ashok Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Ashok Prabhu is joining us from the UK. Yes, we met him last time.
Yes.
Murlidhar Prabhu and Anasuya Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Humble
Guru Maharaj,
pranam.
humble pranams, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yogeshwar Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, thank you, Prabhu, your coordinates.
Hare Krishna. Tirthraj Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we have, let me see. So no more videos on. The rules of meet and greet is that you have to identify yourself. Okay. We have Brajnath Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna and Dandavat Pranam, Maharaj Ji.
Hare
As
Krishna.
usual,
Hare
as
Krishna.
usual, very wonderful class. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
We have Hari Bhaskar Prabhu.
Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
And who else? Anybody else? Okay. So we will end our session here for tonight. Thank you very much for your participation and kind attendance. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Maharaj, for again taking your time and being with us and guiding us through the wonderful 12 Mahajan series, now the Nectar of Instructions, and obviously much more to come from your side. And we are looking forward to these and the future sessions. So please accept our most respectful obeisances. Vancha kalpatarubhasya His Holiness Atmanivedana Swami Maharaj ki
Jai.
His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Aved Bhaktavinda ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Thank you very much.
All glories to the devotees. Hare Krishna.